Hey there everyone, this is Seb and I've got a new video for you. It's been a while, hasn't it? To find out what has happened to me exactly all this time, well, I will put up a new video with some updates somewhere next week probably. For now though, this is a little tag video response because I got tagged not once but twice actually. First by lactobacillusprime, aka Mark here, and the other one was by Lost Gamer. Now, I recommend you check both channels out if you haven't already, because they have great content and they're both great persons. So, come to think of it, for totally different reasons, but yeah, they're both awesome guys. So go check them out, and it's a lot of fun. Anyway, the tag this time is rather interesting one, because on the one hand, if I happen to fulfill this task at hand, I will end up with a very boring video. So that's kind of interesting. So, you know, do you actually want to succeed or not? We'll see. But yeah, the topic of today is name 5 gaming facts about myself which no one cares about. See my dilemma there? So anyway, let's see how far I can go and just come up with 5 random facts which should be interesting to you. So if this video seems totally boring, then I can understand why. Anyway, fact number 1 about me and games. Okay, so whenever there is an option to choose between a male and a female character in a game, I typically go for the male character. I've always done that, and it kind of has to do with, well, basically me being a male. I have most knowledge of being a male. I can relate to the motives and the way they think. So, you know, it makes sense to have my avatar in a game also be a male. Of course, that is working with the assumption that they can actually write a good character, which obviously isn't always the case. But yeah, that's kind of how I see, how I look at it. That doesn't mean I dislike playing as a girl or a woman. I actually love it. I typically really dislike having to make that choice in general, because most of the time it doesn't really matter all that much. It doesn't change much at all of the game, and it just detracts from it, I think. I like to play as a character and live and role play as that character. And if you make a choice and keep the game otherwise the same, say for example Mass Effect, you can't play as much with that character because you kind of have to keep options for both sides open, and that kind of irritates me at times. But yeah, there are some games that do change up things, and they have totally different scenarios for as you play as a male or a female, and I love that. I like that, getting a totally different perspective from different characters. But yeah, just a random fact, because I'm digressing way too much. When I have a choice between male or female, I typically go for the male. Okay, fact number 2. Actually, I do all my gaming, pretty much all of my gaming these days, right near my computer. Why? Well, because it's just practical for myself, because I've got a nice screen there which I can see well. So I typically hook up all my things through the PC monitor. I know it's kind of sacrilege to have an 8-bit console or 16-bit even, or even 32-bit on a LCD screen, but yeah, screw it, it works for me, and it's just way more practical than having different TVs and stuff, and you know, it's just laziness too, I suppose, but it saves room, it's practical, and when I do want to capture something, it's just 2 more hookups and I can capture the thing as well. So, you know, it makes perfect sense. Actually, it takes less hookups. It's hooked up all the way, so I just have to press the button. So, you know, it's just practical. Downside to this is that I can only play hook up really one console at a time, and I need to keep changing things around. Of course, there are workarounds around that, but then I've got cats and such, and cats and things hooked up and making a clutter don't mix well, believe me. Anyway, fact number 3, which also plays into the whole PC thing where I play games, because I typically use only one controller. Of course, not when I play on different consoles, but when I play on the PC, on actual PC games or emulation, then I do tend to use the PS3 controller because I like it so much. Well, PS2 more because the triggers aren't that great, but yeah, I just always really enjoyed the PS3 controller, so I use it as much as possible. Now, of course, it would be easier to hook up the Xbox 360 controller, but I never really got used to it as much. Believe it or not, it took me about 5 years or so to get used to it a bit. The face buttons mainly, they were a disaster for me. I mean, what genius came up with, let's have an A, B, X and Y button. Oh, and let's make them red, yellow, blue and green. But let's just totally change the layout of the SNES controller just to mess with people. I mean, just perfect. It worked. It took me 5 years to actually kind of get used to it. And yeah, same with the trigger buttons. I mean, I'm used to L1, L2, and just LB and LT doesn't say much to me. Whenever I see that on the screen, I'm like, which one was that again? Alright. It just, I mean, left bumper, really, what does it say? But that's just getting used to something, and I haven't played much of the Dreamcast, so I imagine that being much the same, because they have the layout changed and the well, the layout's actually the same as the Xbox 360 or Xbox, but the colors are again different, which makes the mess of things. If you want a good challenge for yourself, then play Xbox, SNES and the Dreamcast for like a month, and every day you only play one system. It will totally mess up your dexterity, I'm pretty sure. That's one thing what I like about the PlayStation, by the way. I'm digressing here, well, who cares? Maybe it's gonna get interesting anyway. But using the symbols, that was very original. I mean, great. Good thinking on Sony's part, actually. So I never really got confused with those buttons compared to the SNES controls, because yeah, there was no A and B, so how can you get them confused? Excellent design. Anyway, before this gets too big and into a video on itself, let's hop over to fact number 4, which is I actually do not own any current gen console at the moment. Apart from the PC, but that's why I said console. The one exception, I guess, is the PS Vita here, which I kind of like, but it's also kind of useless to me at the moment. And why that is, you can see in the updates video next week. But I do not have a PlayStation 4, I do not have an Xbox One, and I do not have a Nintendo Wii U or a 3DS. None of them. Why? Well, partly I just don't have the money for it, and also I kind of don't have any interest in it. I do not really enjoy seeing where the gaming industry is headed towards, and yeah, there's very little actual AAA titles that interest me. I'm mostly content with playing some indie games on Steam and such for the new stuff, and yeah, that's fine by me. It's more manageable financially as well, so that's good. But yeah, sure, there's gonna be games that I like, that I would be interested in to play, but I can wait until the prices drop a bit, and you know, I'm not in a hurry to buy the next new thing again. Maybe I'm just getting old or something, I don't know, but I'm just content playing with what I have so far, and what's new, well, if it's cheap enough, then I'm fine with it, but I'm not gonna rush out and get the new stuff again, and that's a bit in the past for now, I suppose. Okay, fact number 5. Okay. I'm actually a rather solitary gamer. In high school I used to have friends that played games, but ever since high school I actually only had one person to play games with, and that was my cousin. And we kind of grew apart as well over the years, so I rarely, if ever, play with someone else these days. Um, I guess the most I play with people now are people in the YouTube community, so that says you something. But yeah, um, part of it that my friends tend to not enjoy games in general, or I've got a lot of blind friends as well, which obviously makes a lot of makes it a bit hard to play with them as well. Although I did get beat by a blind guy playing Street Fighter 2, so that kind of tells something about my skills in fighting games, I suppose. But yeah, that special move spamming bastard that got me good. But yeah, otherwise also it is very impractical for me to go somewhere else and play games, because for me to enjoy games and fully get the right experience, I need to be right up on the screen. I can't just sit at a distance on a couch and still see the game, so that makes it a bit hard to play games at most people's place, because they've got the couch rather far from the TV, and sometimes you can pull up a chair and that makes it easier, but sometimes you can't, and you know, it's just a hassle sometimes. This also was sometimes a problem in the arcades, but that really depended on the arcade cabinet. I mean, plenty of arcade cabinets are perfectly fine actually to play for me. But you've got some cabinets that were just impossible for me to play as well, because they had too much distance to the screen for me. But yeah, that's kind of the 5 facts. Were they interesting? I don't know, you can be the judge of that. Let me know down in the comments. And yeah, maybe I succeeded, and maybe they were totally useless to you, and maybe you found it interesting after all, I don't know. Want a bonus fact? Okay, here you go, the 6th fact. Just because I thought about it just now. CDI, of course, I'm mostly known for on YouTube here. But before I made videos in 2008, I hadn't touched the thing in about 10 years. So there's your kind of fact about my gaming channel as well. And it's not my favorite system, guys, come on. I do think it has a rightful place in gaming history. There's a lot to be thankful for in gaming in general, because it was the forefather of all CD-based games, pretty much. Without it, you wouldn't have, for example, the PlayStation. But does that make it an amazing system? No, it just makes it an interesting system, and it lacked some information on YouTube. So, you know, I saw a gap in the market, as it were, and I went for it. And I should be going for that again soon, so hopefully look forward to that. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching, if you watched the whole thing through at least. I hope you kinda enjoyed it still, but on the other hand, the object of the game was to name some things that were totally uninteresting. And then if you hear something in the background that is Chippy laying on his fat boy and making a mess of it, you know, make a bit of a rustling noise. Anyway guys, thanks again, and hope to see you guys soon again. Bye bye for now, take care.